Hi, Keystone students. Welcome to this video. We are going to be starting our chapter on looking at data and data displays and then eventually looking at probability. So we are going to start today looking at circle graphs and bar graphs. So the first part of this chapter, we're going to look at displays and how we interpret them and what we're looking for. So the first thing is we are going to look at circle graph. This is obviously a graph that's going to be in the form of a circle, right? That's why we call it a circle graph. It's divided into sections. The entire circle represents the entire data set. Each section represents a part of the whole. The area of each section is proportional to its corresponding percentage. The most important thing here is that the amount of data in a circle graph is equal to 100%. So if you add up all of the parts, all of those parts are going to be 100%. For a bar graph, a graph in which data values are represented by rectangular bars. A bar graph can either be written vertically or it can be written horizontally. Okay. So if we look here here's a couple of examples. Okay. So this is an example of a circle graph, and this is an example of a bar graph. Right? So we have in the circle graph, it labels each part with what each section represents. And then they usually give us some sort of percentage in each spot, right? So notice the 37.5 is the biggest percentage. So that takes up the biggest slice of the circle. And then our two that are 25% are equal in size. And then our 12.5 is a little bit smaller. On this bar graph here, we have our labels on the bottom, and the numbers going up top, they tell us our frequency or how many times that graph shows up. In either case, we are going to use these graphs to make predictions, right? So usually we do some sort of study or collect some sort of data, put it in some sort of data display, and then we want to extrapolate that about what's going to happen in the future, okay? So the first thing, a manager at a pizza parlor surveyed her customers to find out the customer's favorite topping, and she recorded the results in the circle graph below. If the average number of customers in one day is 300, how many of these customers are likely to choose olives as their favorite topping? Well, I don't know who would like olives on their pizza. I certainly don't. But I guess it turns out that some people do like olives on their pizza. So to answer this, we're going to go to our graph and find out where olives are. So olives make 18% of our sales. Okay, so we have 300 total customers come in on a given day, and 18% of them like olives on their pizza. Right? So what we're going to do is we got to figure out what is 18% of 300. So to do that, we're going to do 0.18 times 300. And when we type that in our calculator, we are going to get 54. So what that means is that 54 customers like olives on their pizza. Okay? All right, so moving on to the next example. A vote was held for class president. 400 students voted, right? So we want to make sure we underline that because that's an important piece. And 60 of these students were given an exit poll to find out which of these 5 candidates they voted for. The results are shown below. So based on this data, estimate the total number of students who voted for Kiko. Okay, so Kiko is right here. He received 14 total votes. So the first thing we have to do is we have to figure out what percentage voted for Kiko. So to find that percentage, 14 people out of the 60 people polled voted for Kiko. So we're going to figure out what that is as a decimal. So 14 divided by 60 is roughly 0.233 repeating. Okay, so now to figure out how many people we think voted for them, I should say. So we're going to do 0.33 repeating times our 400 total people, and that's going to give us a total of 93, roughly, votes for Kiko. Okay, so we would anticipate that looking at this, that Karen would end up winning the election just based because they have the most people that voted for him in our exit poll. Is that certainly going to happen? No, but exit polls are just kind of used to make predictions about what's going to happen. All right, so at this point, you can move on to the next video to look at the rest of the examples.